What is up guys, Julien here of Social Vignerons. Welcome back to another wine video. This is episode 42 of the Tasting with Julien series, this series where I taste and review individual wines, and it's always an opportunity to learn a whole lot about different styles, regions and grape varieties and explore together the wonderful world of wine. Today I'm particularly excited because I am going to introduce you to this particular wine, and we are going to be talking about champagne, but champagne rosés. This is going to be an opportunity to learn a whole lot about how champagne rosé is made for those of you who are interested in that topic, and I know there's quite a few of you out there that love their champagne rosé. And this particular wine is not only wine, it is what I could call a work of art. It's a work of wine craftsmanship. Not a simple fermented grape juice as we used to, but we'll get into this in a minute. Let's talk about rosé champagne. Now, a few things you need to know about champagne rosé. As you know, generally speaking, champagne is made blending two or three different grape varieties. A white grape that is Chardonnay with red grapes that are Pinot Noir and sometimes Pinot Meunier. It is the same for making rosé champagne, except that instead of pressing the red grapes, the Pinots, without extracting any color from the skins, which is what they do for making the whites, winemakers do allow some skin contact on the reds to obtain the beautiful pink color that we love. So some rosés, not often, are sometimes even made adding a little bit of red wine to the whites. Unfortunately, often rosé champagnes, especially the non-vintage ones, are made in a simple fruity style with quite a lot of sugar added at bottling for wines that can be a little bit characterless, as I'm sure sometimes you've noticed. Now, the wine I am tasting today is a completely different approach. AR Lenable, the producer of this wine, is a family boutique champagne house, family owned, that puts every possible know-how and effort, it's incredible, into crafting every cuvée they make. Let's talk about this rosé that is called Rosé Terroirs Bisseuil. This is a blend of 88% Chardonnay from Grand Cru vineyards in the Côte des Blancs. Those who know about Champagne will know that the Côte des Blancs is that special chalky soil area in Champagne where all the best Chardonnays are made in Champagne. So 88% of that, with the remainder 12% of Pinot Noir from Bisseuil, which is a Premier Cru, so Grand Cru and Premier Cru only. So wines from a fantastic terroir to start with. Then this final blend includes 28% of reserve wine, so that's wine that's been stored at the winery to refine for several years prior to bottling, plus a 20% of wine fermented in oak barrels and oak vat for extra depth. Then after blending, so they blend all of this together and they bottle it for the prise de mousse, so that's the process through which champagne acquires its bubble inside the bottles. The wine has been aged. This wine has been aged at the winery cellar for 5 years to refine. So imagine the amount of work that's gone into this wine, the amount of year that we're talking about here to craft this champagne. Because it's a blend, you can't exactly say how old the wine is because it contains different vintages blended together, and that's why it's called a non-vintage, but all the elements in there are at least 5 years old and they've been specially aged and crafted, all the different components by the winery, so it's already been aged for you by the winery. And some elements in there are probably about 10 years old or so. So this is not just wine made in a standard way. You know, you take some grapes, you ferment them, and then you bottle them. Essentially, no, this is a combination of different wines from different vineyards, all exceptional, all crafted. Each and every component is crafted in a different way and then blended together to form what the winemakers, AR Lenable, think is the best possible rosé they can make. And here it is. But let's get, I think I've talked enough, let's get into tasting. Big shout out to AR Lenable for sending this wine over. I'm honored and excited to taste this wine. Also, I wanted to give a little shout out to Jancis Robinson and what's his name again, Richard Brendan, for sending these wine glasses. You can probably see though. So this is not sponsored, but they've sent me those wine glasses, which are very special wine glasses. They do feel quite heavy, they are super fine, and those wine glasses are made to accommodate tasting any style of wine, the rosés, the whites, the reds, and including the champagne. So big shout out to these guys. This is not sponsored, but I'm enjoying these glasses, so just thought I would give them a quick shout out. So let's get into this wine. You can see that the color here is pale, but not that pale, salmon pink color. It's got quite a bit of orange hues to it, as we expect from salmon, but overall, and that's probably because it's a great majority of Chardonnay, 88% Chardonnay, so it's got more of a white, slight orangey color. This is not just a young wine with a bright and bright pink color, as many rosé champagnes have. But let's take further into what it tastes like. So this wine smells very pungently of brioche and toasted bread with some spices, Swiss spices as well. There are delicate notes of flowers like daisies, a little bit of elderflower, so it's definitely floral, and touches of fresh apricot, you know, like a really fresh apricot that is juicy and acidic. It smells really fresh overall. There is some white peach as well, so floral elements, touches of fruit, but really fresh and juicy fruit characters. Charming, delicate and complex, but powerful as well. Like you can sense that there is a lot of aromatic intensity packed into this wine. Wow, what really strikes here is the harmony of the wine. It feels like a cloud on your palate. It feels, I mean, there is some acidity, but it's got an oily texture. It's so smooth and rounded, and it feels like a cloud on your palate. It definitely feels like a completely seamless tasting experience. A dry wine, there's only 3 grams of added sugar at bottling, so they've definitely wanted to respect the fruit expression and not bother your palate with any sort of really perceptible sugar, just tiny bit of sugars just to mellow it up slightly. But so this is definitely a dry, mineral, acidic style. There's some phenolics teasing your taste buds and making you salivate, but really overall it's so smooth on your palate. There are some bursting flavors again of toasted hazelnut with lots of spices exploding on your palate, some nutmeg and cinnamon, these sort of sweet spices. So it's a bit like, I don't know, there's so much going on really. The toasted hazelnut and the brioche come surrounded with the fresh apricot, the white peach, a bit of pomegranate, so it's all very elegant as well as pungently toasted. Spicy, I mean, there's an awful lot going on. Let me have just another quick sip. The broad influence of this great Chardonnay, but in a very restrained, harmonious expression of Chardonnay on the floral side of things with touches of lemon. So this is like a really acidic, refined Chardonnay, one of the most, you know, refined, almost unoaked Chardonnay, even though there are some hints at a bit of hazelnut and the brioche, so make it feel like it's a little bit oaky, but it's not like your gross oak influence. Really refined Chardonnay, like a fantastic Chablis, but you know, even going up to another level with the Pinot Noir, adding some depth, some complexity, a bit of red berry fruit characters, and definitely a touch of earthiness that is rather quite typical of Pinot Noir. We say in French that it pinots because it adds a bit of a forest floor character, a bit of touches of earthiness, a bit of dried leaf character as well. So there's an awful lot going on. It's awfully long on the palate as well. You can taste the layers and layers that develop through your palate after you've tasted the wine. So this is a wine more to go with a meal. The producer told me that they see this with some charcuteries, you know, the cured meats, but the fine, refined ones, the prosciuttos, the, you know, mild, creamy chicken sort of entrees and mildly flavored dishes. So this is certainly a wine for gastronomy, for, I mean, high-end restaurants, but you can definitely enjoy the high-end restaurant experience at home with such a champagne, but pair it with a delicate dish. This retails in the US, I believe, around $50, so that'll be 35 pounds, I suppose, in the UK. In France, you can find this, yeah, for 35 euros. So, you know, $50 for this type of champagne, if you can find it at $50, and I believe that's what you can find it for. Well, you are getting a gastronomic, gourmet, refined rosé that's been crafted for many, many years by a boutique, small family-owned winery, and so that's a great alternative to some of the big brands of rosés, but it is a little bit more for connoisseurs and people that want to dig a little bit further into the wine and appreciate it. Yet it's got this seamless, again, I'm repeating myself, but this seamless tasting experience, so anyone can enjoy this as well. Sounds like I'm promoting this wine quite a lot, but yeah, I'm just enjoying it, and I love the effort and the craftsmanship that's gone into this wine, so might as well talk about it. I hope you've learned a little something about champagne rosés. There is champagne rosé and champagne rosé, different types, the big bulk mass produced ones and the ones that are produced by small wineries with a lot of care for their vineyards and for their wines, doing all sorts of different things at the winery to achieve, you know, something that is really, really special. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you soon in the wonderful world of wine. Cheers.